playing with dirt again?" My sister laughed as I loaded seedlings into my car. "Dad says you've thrown away your MBA to become a glorified gardener." Little did they know those seedlings would sprout into a $30 million business that would revolutionize urban agriculture. Sometimes the smallest seeds yield the most surprising harvests. The derision in my sister Valerie's voice was nothing new. Since quitting my management consulting job 3 years ago, my family had made their disapproval abundantly clear. Their golden child had gone rogue, trading PowerPoint presentations and corporate lunches for soil samples and growth charts. "It's not just gardening," I said, carefully arranging the last tray of microgreen seedlings. "And yes, I'm still playing with dirt, as you call it." Valerie leaned against my 10-year-old Honda, arms crossed over her designer blouse. At 35, she embodied everything our achievement-obsessed family valued: senior vice president at a multinational bank, tasteful penthouse in the financial district, vacations that make perfect Instagram portfolios. "Mom's worried about you, Jack." "We all are. You're 33, living in that tiny apartment, driving this ancient car, and what? Growing lettuce on rooftops? This isn't what Dad paid Stanford tuition for." I closed the trunk, suppressing the familiar mixture of frustration and self-doubt her words triggered. "Tell Mom I'm fine. The business is growing. We just signed 2 more buildings. Buildings that let you grow plants on their roofs," she said, clearly unimpressed. "Very prestigious." My phone buzzed with a text from Amara, my business partner. "Meeting with investors moved up. How soon can you get here?" "I have to go," I told Valerie. "Investor meeting." She raised a perfectly groomed eyebrow. "People are actually investing in this scheme." I didn't bother responding. After 3 years of similar conversations, I learned that no explanation would suffice. My family had decided my urban agriculture startup was a hobby, a phase I was going through before inevitably returning to the corporate fold. As I drove across town to our office, a converted warehouse in a rapidly evolving industrial district, I thought about how it had all started. Not with some grand vision of disrupting agriculture, but with a simple rooftop garden on my apartment building. Stressed from 70-hour work weeks and soul-crushing projects, I'd started growing vegetables as therapy, something tangible, living that responded to care in ways spreadsheets never did. My neighbors noticed, asked for advice on starting their own gardens. Building management saw the potential for green marketing and offered me more space. Then came the realization that changed everything. Urban buildings were vast, untapped growing spaces with built-in markets directly below them. Why ship produce thousands of miles when you could grow it right where people lived and worked? I'd met Amara at an urban sustainability conference where I'd gone seeking advice on irrigation systems. With her background in environmental engineering and my business experience, something clicked. 6 months later, I quit my job and Urban Harvest was born. Now we manage 27 productive gardens across the city, from hotel rooftops to corporate headquarters to hospital grounds. We developed a proprietary system that made urban agriculture not just environmentally sound but economically viable, the holy grail that had eluded so many before us. But my family still thought I was playing in the dirt. "There you are," Amara said as I hurried into our conference room, where she sat with our financial director, Pablo. "The Greenfield partners are already on their way." "Sorry, family delay," I explained, setting up my laptop. "What's the change?" "They're bringing their full investment committee," Pablo said, excitement evident in his voice. "I think they're ready to commit." I felt a rush of adrenaline. Greenfield Ventures wasn't just any investment firm. They were the premier funders in sustainable technology. Their support would mean not just capital but validation of everything we've been building. "How are the presentation slides?" I asked, pulling up our deck. "Perfect," Amara assured me. At 38, she brought a steady confidence to our partnership that balanced my occasional doubts. I updated the growth projections based on the Sanders Building data. "We're outperforming our estimates by 22%. I nodded, scanning the room to ensure everything was perfect. Our conference room told our story visually: living walls of herbs and vegetables, digital displays showing real-time data from our sites across the city, architectural models of our next-generation growing systems. My phone buzzed again. My father. "Valerie says you're still pursuing this garden project. Let's talk about getting you back into proper business." I silenced my phone as voices approached down the hallway. "Just remember," Amara whispered, We're not just selling produce, we're selling a revolution in urban food systems. The next 2 hours were a whirlwind of presentations, questions, and discussion. The Greenfield team was thorough, probing every aspect of our business model, technology, and growth strategy. But I could see the growing interest in their eyes as we walked them through the numbers. The productivity per square foot, the elimination of transportation costs, the premium customers willingly paid for hyper-local produce. "What you've built here is remarkable," said Catherine Weiss, Greenfield's managing partner, as we concluded. "Your execution is far ahead of anyone else in this space." "The question," added her colleague, "is scale. Can you replicate this success in other cities?" "That's exactly why we're seeking this investment," I explained. "We've proven the model here. Now we're ready to expand to Chicago, Boston, and Austin in the next 18 months. Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "We'd like to move forward with due diligence. Our team will be in touch tomorrow to schedule the next steps." After they left, the three of us stood in momentary stunned silence before erupting into cheers. "This is it," Pablo said, grinning widely. "7 million in funding. Do you know what this means?" "It means we were right," Amara said simply, squeezing my arm. "All those people who said urban agriculture couldn't be profitable at scale, we proved them wrong. Including my family, I thought but didn't say." "Let's not celebrate too early," I cautioned. "Due diligence can uncover issues we haven't anticipated." "Always the careful one," Amara teased. "But today, let's enjoy this moment. Dinner tonight? I'm calling the whole team." As they began making plans, I stepped out to the balcony that overlooked our demonstration garden, a lush oasis of productivity in the midst of concrete and steel. Neat rows of vegetables, herbs, and edible flowers grew in our patented modular system, designed to maximize yield while minimizing water and energy use. I thought about how far we'd come from my first haphazard rooftop garden. The innovations we developed out of necessity, water reclamation systems, lightweight growing mediums, iode monitoring tools, had become our competitive advantage, the intellectual property that investors now valued in the millions. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. "Darling, your father is concerned. Richard's firm has an opening in their strategy department. Excellent salary and benefits. Shall I put in a word?" I sighed, pocketing the phone without responding. Even now, with 27 sites, 40 employees, and major investors knocking on our door, they couldn't see what we were building. 2 weeks later, the investment was confirmed. $7 million to expand Urban Harvest across the country. The press release went out on a Tuesday morning, picked up immediately by several business publications and sustainability blogs. By afternoon, my phone was flooded with congratulatory messages from friends, former colleagues, industry contacts, and a terse text from my father. 7 million. "Call me." I waited until evening, after reviewing contracts with our lawyers and planning sessions with the team. When I finally called, he answered on the first ring. $7 million, he said without preamble. "For growing vegetables on rooftops." "For transforming urban food systems," I corrected. "For building technology that makes cities more sustainable and resilient." A pause. "The Wall Street Journal mentioned your company." Of course that would be what impressed him. Not the environmental impact, not the communities we were feeding, but recognition from a publication he respected. "They did," I confirmed. "They're running a feature next week on innovation in food systems." Another pause. "Your mother and I would like to see this operation of yours. Perhaps dinner afterward." It wasn't an apology for 3 years of dismissal. It wasn't even an acknowledgement that he might have been wrong. But coming from my father, it was significant. "I'd like that," I said carefully. "How about Thursday? I can give you a tour of our main site and the office." "Thursday works. 4 o'clock?" 4 is perfect. After hanging up, I sat in my apartment, looking out at the city lights. In the 3 years since starting Urban Harvest, I'd invited my parents to see our work countless times. They'd always declined, too busy or not interested enough to make the effort. Now, with the validation of serious investment and media coverage, they were suddenly available. Part of me felt bitter about this, that external validation meant more to them than my passion or hard work. But another part understood. They'd grown up in different times, with different measures of success. Risk-taking wasn't valued in their world. Stability and prestige were the currencies that mattered. Maybe, just maybe, they were finally ready to understand what I was building. Thursday arrived, bringing unexpected nerves. I pitched to skeptical investors, negotiated with demanding corporate clients, and managed crises from pest outbreaks to system failures. But explaining my vision to my parents somehow felt more daunting. The great Jack Chin, nervous about a simple tour. Amara teased, finding me adjusting the displays in our visitor center for the third time. "They're my parents," I said, as if that explained everything. She squeezed my shoulder. "They're going to be impressed, Jack. What you've built here is extraordinary. Even the most stubborn people can't deny what they see with their own eyes." "You don't know my father," I muttered, but I appreciated her encouragement. At precisely 4 o'clock, my parents arrived. My father in his customary business suit, my mother elegant in understated designer wear. They looked out of place among our industrial chic surroundings, like visiting dignitaries in a foreign country. "This is interesting," my mother said, her eyes roaming over the living walls that bordered our reception area. "It's all edible," I explained, gesturing to the herbs and leafy greens. "We harvest from these walls 3 times a week for local restaurants." "In the office?" my father asked, clearly skeptical. "It's a demonstration of our systems," I said. "Follow me and you'll see how it works at scale." I led them through the building, explaining our operations. The seedling nursery where we started thousands of plants each week, the research lab where we tested new varieties and growing methods, the monitoring station where technicians tracked data from all our sites across the city. My father asked unexpected technical questions about yield rates and water usage. My mother seemed most interested in the social impact, our partnerships with schools and community centers, the food justice programs we'd initiated in underserved neighborhoods. Finally, we reached the rooftop of our building, our first full-scale commercial site and still our most productive. Half an acre of vegetables, herbs, and edible flowers grew in neat rows, with staff members harvesting for afternoon deliveries to restaurants and markets across the city. "All this grows here, year-round?" My mother sounded genuinely astonished. "Year-round," I confirmed. "Our systems are climate-controlled. We use 95% less water than conventional farming, no pesticides, and our carbon footprint for distribution is minimal because we're right here in the city." My father walked slowly along the rows, examining the irrigation system, the structural elements, the monitoring devices attached to each growing bed. I was explaining our proprietary soil mixture to my mother when he rejoined us. "This is no hobby," he said, and I detected something new in his voice. "This is engineering, architecture, logistics. You've built a vertical supply chain." "Yes," I said simply. "That's exactly what we've done." He nodded, looking out over the garden, then to the city skyline beyond. "And you own the intellectual property? The systems, the technology?" "All patented or patent pending," I confirmed. "That's a large part of what the investors are funding, scaling our technology to other cities." Another nod. "Smart. Very smart." It wasn't exactly an apology for 3 years of dismissal. It wasn't even direct praise. But coming from my father, it felt momentous. Dinner that evening had a different tone from our usual family gatherings. Gone were the subtle digs about my career choices, the suggestions for real jobs, the comparisons to Valerie's corporate achievements. Instead, my parents asked genuine questions about the business, about our expansion plans, about the challenges of scaling to other cities. "I didn't understand before," my father said as we waited for dessert. "I thought you were just gardening." I nabbed Dad. "But this is legitimate innovation. Disruptive technology. You're not just growing vegetables, you're reimagining urban infrastructure." My mother reached across the table to pat my hand. "We're proud of you, Jack. You saw something we couldn't see." The validation felt good. Better than I wanted to admit. But as I drove home that night, I realized something important. Their approval, while welcome, wasn't necessary anymore. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped measuring my success against their expectations. 1 year after the Greenfield investment, Urban Harvest had expanded to 4 additional cities, with 30 new growing sites and over 100 employees. We'd been featured in major business publications, sustainability conferences, and even a documentary about the future of food. My family had become enthusiastic supporters, with my father often sending me articles about urban agriculture or introducing me to potential business connections. My sister had even invested personally in our Series B funding round, a gesture that meant more to me than the money itself. Quite a change from playing with dirt. Amara observed one evening as we reviewed plans for our newest site in Austin. I laughed. Sometimes people need to see success to believe in the vision. And sometimes, she added thoughtfully, the best validation comes from proving the skeptics wrong. She was right. The journey from rooftop garden to multi-city agricultural enterprise had been filled with doubters, not just my family, but potential clients, investors, even other urban farming ventures who said our model wouldn't scale. But with each harvest, each new site, each technological improvement, we'd proven that urban agriculture could be more than a feel-good sustainability project. It could be a viable business, a transformative force in urban food systems. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Just saw your interview in Business Week. Impressive. Dinner Sunday to discuss the new expansion. I smiled, typing back a quick confirmation. Sometimes success speaks a language everyone understands. But the real victory wasn't winning my family's approval. It was building something meaningful despite their doubt. The garden had indeed grown into an empire, one carefully tended seedling at a time.